Hey folks, I'm Rupali, your host, and welcome back to Crime Hack. With many leads to follow, Raj and Sandy split up the work. While Raj achieves success in all his tasks, Sandy is ambushed as soon as he begins. So he finds losing consciousness because the assailants are many and he hopes they will talk if they think he can't hear them. As expected, the gang talks and he finds out about a cave where Tushar is staying after running away from authorities. The gang then splits up, keeping one goon standing guard over him. This guy turns out to be a sadistic maniac, but Sandy manages to free himself and overpowers him. Curious about the scraping sound echoing inside the tunnel, he finds out that the gang is clearing up the debris to make an escape route. Sandy realizes it's getting late, so he gets out of the tunnel system and calls Raj. When Raj comes, he figures that Sandy is in bad shape, but they have a guest waiting for them at home and they have to cut short their investigation and head back. And now, Naik Brothers and the Mystery of the Catacombish Tunnels by Rupali Rajapathe Roti, Part 39. Reaching home, they found that their guest had already arrived and was seated at the dining table. A quick round of fleeting introductions followed with the remark of, "They were dying to meet you, and now I don't know where these young people spend all their time at to be so late. Go get cleaned up quickly." Raj and Sandy hurried into their room to freshen up. Sandy had a quick hot water bath and then joined the table. Their guest, Detective Tomar, was of average height and average body type. He had a slightly round face with normal eyes. There was nothing distinct about him, so to say. Everyone who has read detective stories like Sherlock Holmes and many others might expect detectives to have certain distinct features, like impressive height or sharp, piercing eyes, long, sometimes crooked noses, and the like. The boys noticed that if they were to give a description of Detective Tomar, it would match a million others across the world. He looked casual in his manner, and the dinner went on with a lot of crime update, boss bitching, stressful life, and so on. Once a mention had come from their father that his boys wanted to be detectives, and he had looked at them and nodded politely. Looking at Sandy, who was chewing more than eating, Tomar started to say, "You eat." Then, changing his mind, he finished, "As per prescription, chew every bite 32 times." And everyone had laughed. Raj also chimed in, "You haven't even finished your first helping, and I'm already on my third. I thought you said you were hungry." Sandy became self conscious and said with a guarded tone, "I guess it has passed me." Mr. Nayak added heartily, "Don't go by his looks, Tomar. When it comes to eating, he can eat like an elephant." The dinner was really very tasty. Mrs. Naik had prepared Punjabi style chole and roti along with Karnataka style bisibeli anna, which is simply a dish made by brewing yellow dal, rice, and vegetables together in the tadka. It usually goes along with special spices, but can also be made with normal homemade spices. There were supporting dishes like salad in curd, pickle, plain curd rice, and fried spice filled dried big chilies. Mr. Naik had told her beforehand what Mr. Tomar loved to eat, and the same things were prepared for the dinner. After the hearty meal, Mr. Naik said, "Tomar, if you have time to spare, why don't you go see the boys' den? They have a nice setup there. I bet you will love it." Sandy started to speak in a low voice. "Dad, I wanted to talk to you. Beta, I have to rush. Something urgent has come up." Mr. Naik replied. "But Dad, this is—" Sandy persisted, but the conversation was interrupted by a mobile ringing. Their father picked up his call and said into the phone, "Yeah, okay, I'm on my way." Rushing out, he said over his shoulder, "We will talk soon, son. So long." Sandy and Raj looked disappointedly at the departing figure of their father, but cheered up again as soon as they cast a glance at Detective Tomar. With a twinkle in his eye, Raj started talking. "We have heard so much about you, uncle." "Really?" Detective Tomar replied with a slight amusement. "We have always wanted to grow up to be detectives and make careers out of it. Raj had taken the responsibility of chatting away today. Usually, Sandy was the chatterbox of the two, but today he didn't seem to be in the mood, and he was trailing behind Mr. Tomar and Raj. You mean as in government service? Oh no, private detectives. Hmm. A polite smile stayed glued to the detective's face, and Raj couldn't discern what he was thinking about. Have you worked on a case before? Detective Tomar asked. Well, we have just begun our first real case. Really? And what is that about? Mr. Tomar looked interested. Well, Raj hesitated. One of our good friends was beaten up recently by a bunch. We are trying to find out who all are behind it and why did they do it. It didn't sound like a great big deal, and Raj gave a feeble smile. Mr. Tomar smirked. Don't tell me the reason is the 14th of February. We earlier had thought the same, uncle, but we now have a hunch that it is something different. They had reached the den by now, and as soon as Mr. Tomar glanced across the room, he looked happy. With a child's curiosity, he went from one prop to the other in the mini lab. After spending a considerable amount of time there, he settled down to look at the pictures and posters. Raj and Sandy took turns introducing the people in the pictures who had left a mark on their lives. Reaching one picture, the detective asked, Who's this? And Sandy felt himself go pink in the face. Raj jumped at the opportunity that he had gotten after a very long time and replied, That's Sandy's girlfriend Pinky from his second standard. No, she's not, Sandy retorted, embarrassed, and Raj was enjoying every moment. Not letting Sandy off the hook so easily, Raj continued, Oh, and don't be under the impression that she is about to kiss. He cast a sideways glance at Sandy, who was now turning a crimson red. Shut it, Raj, Sandy pleaded, but Raj rattled on. She used to keep her lips that way all the time. Sandy tried to change the topic. Why don't you show Uncle our file on this case? And Raj knew too well that this was one of his ways of getting off the hook. So, ignoring Sandy altogether, he continued with a mischievous smile. And you know, Uncle, Pinky used to follow him everywhere he went. He had this bad habit of not completing his homework back then. And when the teacher asked for the homework copy, he would hide beneath the bench and Pinky would follow suit. Now, Mr. Tomar was also enjoying the teasing and asked, Is that true, Sandeep? Sandy blushed further, not knowing what to say. And then one of the kids used to tell the teacher that these two were below the bench, and Sandy used to flee from one bench to the other, and Pinky would still follow him. What? Trying to kiss him? Below the benches? Mr. Tomar had taken to the teasing now, and Sandy couldn't take it anymore. He sprang up to leave, exasperated and still blushing, when the detective grabbed his hand and pulled him down. Controlling his laughter somehow, he said, Hey, sit down, okay? We are sorry. But then his smile slowly widened again, and when he met Raj's eye, he couldn't control himself anymore. Bursting out laughing again, the detective admitted, Oh man, that was funny, and gave Raj a high five. Sandy was glaring at Raj now. So, assessing the situation, the detective said, You were going to show me some file, weren't you? And Raj scuttled off to one of the shelves. So friends, in the next episode, we will be discussing psychology. So don't miss it. Thanks for subscribing to our channel and supporting us on Patreon. Hope you are watching our other videos too that talk about real crimes, business, psychology, funny bits, and motivational short stories. Please let us know what you think. You can also tell us what topics you want us to create videos on. We will definitely work on them. Keep sharing your love with us, keep safe, and please connect with us if you're an expert and want to share your wisdom on our channel. See you soon in our next video. Namaskar.